You're tuned in to Capital Jazz TV. I'm your host, Jodine Dorsey. This is the 2019 27th annual, can you believe I'm saying 27th annual? 27th annual Capital Jazz Fest here at the Merriweather Pavilion. We just experienced an amazing tribute for Aretha Franklin, produced by Wayne Bruce. Wayne, thank you for pulling that together.
Thank you so much.
Round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Round of applause. It was amazing.
Thank you so much.
The music, the graphics. How? Before I talk about the tribute, please introduce everyone who we have here.
Wow. I've never thought, first of all, thank you for having us. But I'm excited to have my friends here with me and a phone on.
Of course.
But it's all right.
It's all good.
So I'm excited to have my friends here with me. I'll start at the far end. Mr. Will Downing.
I love we clapping for each other.
In the middle, the baby of the bunch, Shanice. And the incomparable Miss Ann Nesby.
Yes, yes. How did you work with all these artists to bring this tribute together?
Wow, I've worked with Will for years, and I've worked with Ann a few times with Art Sherrod and different artists, and Shanice was a gift from God, also, because that was through Kenny Lattimore. I mean,
wow. And Kenny is like a Capital Jazz ambassador. At this point, he's not even an artist. Right.
Kenny's like a brother.
Oh.
Right. So yeah, we had looked at Shanice for another engagement, and I thought about her for this engagement, and I went home one night and cut on my computer to Twitter. I never used Twitter on my computer. I cut on the computer on Twitter, and her post was the first thing I saw.
Oh.
And she was singing an Aretha Franklin song.
Wow.
And I said, that's divine, and I have to get in touch with her.
Wow.
And so I called Kenny Lattimore, and he said right away, sure, she's wonderful. I was like, I need her for this tribute.
For this tribute.
Right, because it's divinely purposed, because I never do this, and that happened then.
Wow.
2 in the morning, he sent me the text. The next morning I called, and the rest is history.
Amazing. So if you could pass the mic, because Ann, this is a tribute for Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
Who was Aretha Franklin to you?
Aretha Franklin was one of the first major artists that I fell in love with as a singer. My father is a pastor, a Baptist.
Preacher's kid.
Yeah,
Yes,
PKs. And he would always try to do that C.L. Franklin hoop. And you know, that first album where Aretha was playing behind her father and singing Precious Lord, my dad said, okay, I want you to watch this. He said, you could do that. My dad encouraged me and steered me toward Aretha Franklin, but they didn't let us listen to what they called the devil's music.
Oh, so the pop music that she was doing at the time.
So when they went to work, my sisters and we would listen to Aretha Franklin. So that's where all the other music came in, where I fell in love with Aretha as an artist. I'd never heard or seen anything like that outside of church. Of course, I'm a church girl, and of course at church, you probably could get sung under the bench at any moment, because that's where it all derived from for us, our roots. But hearing Aretha and seeing her at the piano, so articulate and so royal, the queen. That's how I was formally first introduced to Aretha, but I was formally introduced to Aretha while touring with Luther Vandross with Sounds of Blackness. And Luther would come in our room and he would say, okay, so who is your favorite man singer? I said, well, you know, I have to say you. I said, but I absolutely loved him. He said, no, who is your favorite woman singer? I'm sure he knew. I said, of course, Aretha. He said, you ever met her? I said, no. I said, but I know you did some songs for her. I said, so wherever we are, when she comes to your show, you have to introduce me to her. So Sounds of Blackness, very first Grammy.
Wow.
Luther won a Grammy. Aretha won a Grammy that year. Came into the rehearsal. Luther walked down to the front. We were sitting in the back because you know they always put Sounds of Blackness in the back because there are so many
There's
of
a
us.
lot of them. There's a lot.
We would take up a
It's
lot
facts,
of space.
Facts. Right.
So he called me from the front. Ann, he said, I got somebody I want you to meet. I get up and I walk down, and when I turn around and look, I'm staring right into the face of Aretha Franklin. Of course, you know I lost it. I lost it because it was like meeting the Queen.
Yeah.
And it did my heart great to be introduced to her. And I always, when I'm speaking, I always talk about that moment as being one of the greatest moments in my career, with all those events happening at once. So I still love the Queen.
Perfect. And Shanice, did you know Aretha, or you just love singing her music? Like, how did you get to know Aretha Franklin?
Well, of course, I knew her. My mom used to, when I was growing up, used to play Aretha, her music around the house. So I was definitely inspired by Aretha. But I just want to say, it's so deep. Like, when she turned 50, she flew me to her home.
Wait, back up. There's a story
When she
behind
turned
that.
50, she reached out to me and asked me to perform at her house. I mean, I'm literally like singing on her carpet, like right in her living room. And that's just a memory that I'll never forget. And then over the years, we stayed in touch. So we talked on the phone quite a bit.
Oh, wow.
And I think I'm about to cry. I'm so sorry, because I just want to say there were times, because the industry gets really hard sometimes.
Yes.
And sometimes, you know, I love singing and I'm doing this for the love, but like when you think about the industry, it gets real political and it's like really hard. So sometimes there were times where I didn't want to sing anymore. And I was going through a period where I said, I'm not singing, I don't want to sing. And my husband came home and said, Miss Franklin's trying to get in touch with you. Here's her cell number. So I called her, and she said, I just want to tell you, she said, we're having auditions about my movie, and she said, and all I thought about was you. She said, because you got it. And when she said that, I almost like passed out.
Like, I don't even know, what's that feeling? Like, I mean,
No,
like, how do you listen to
and
that?
I felt like it was God. I felt like God was using her to get a message to me.
Yeah.
So when he told me that the way it happened, like he said, I felt like it was a spiritual thing. I feel like, you know, on the other side, maybe Miss Franklin made this happen on the other side. I don't
She
know.
was just like, y'all not gonna do a
But-
tribute about me and
Right,
not have
without
my
her.
girl
My
Shanice
bad.
in
Without
there.
having
She
two
was
of
like
her favorite
she
singers.
like a mentor. She mentored me.
What did she give you any words, any pebbles about the career, about your career, about music overall? Any gems that
She
we can
just
walk away
constantly told me that how great she thought my voice was, and just that
with?
alone.
Just that alone.
Like, and then I was singing on the news in Detroit, and because I was promoting a show that I was doing there, and right after I walked out, they said somebody's on the phone. They say it's Aretha, but we think it's a prank call. And I said it could possibly be her. So I got on the phone, and she called down to the news station while I was at the news. So I have some really good moments that I can just hold on to forever.
Oh my gosh. Will, tell me. Right. Edit. It may not be so divine and spiritual, but.
When I was 70, Aretha put me in a cab to come clean her carpet for the party that Shanice was singing at. So,
I love this Will. I love Will. He's so silly.
thank you. I never had the pleasure of meeting her.
Oh, wow.
I never had the pleasure. But the standard of which I kind of follow for vocalists, she's at the top.
She's the blueprint.
Yeah, she's the blueprint. You know, if you can't sing with your spirit, you can't sing from the heart,
Right.
sing like that. If you can't do that, then go do something else.
Right.
So that's what Aretha means to me.
Oh,
So I ain't got no good story. Like she, you know, she flew me in.
It's okay. It's okay. Grab the mic if you
I was the flight attendant on the flight that Shanice was on when she over there.
Don't listen to Will. Look, Will Downing re-recorded "Daydreaming," and it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite records that she did. Of course, Donny Hathaway is playing the intro and playing electric piano on that record. So I always was drawn to that record. And when one of my favorite singers on the record that I played on of his, he called me to play on the record Emotions, and he didn't call me to play on that record, on that song.
Yeah.
So
Some kind of way.
I don't get invited to Aretha's house. I get insulted.
No.
Right here on
Some kind
national
of
TV.
no, look, but I mean, Will Downing's voice is velvet soul. It's velvet soul. He is the prince of velvet soul, sophisticated soul. That's velvet?
Is that velvet?
You wearing velvet? Is that velvet? I mean, and so him re-recording Daydreaming is just absolutely him performing it today live. I don't know if you've performed that live before. Maybe.
Long time.
Yeah. And it was amazing, and his recording is amazing of it. So download, go to Amazon, iTunes. Not
Please.
iTunes is over.
Please,
So
please.
Apple Music, all these things to hear these artists, and you will hear Aretha Franklin's influence on each of them. I mean, you know, there had to be an Ann Nesby call, because you hear Aretha in her voice.
Absolutely.
That had to be a call I had to make.
Absolutely.
Like it had to be a Will Downing call.
And who are some of the other artists that, we're not
Oh,
interviewing
wow.
all the artists, but who are some of the other artists? that
Incredible. Leela James was incredible. So from Aretha's blues side, I was one of my favorite albums is Live at the Fillmore, and she does Dr. Feelgood and Spirit in the Dark and those things. So I thought I had worked with Leela before, and she's the quintessential young blues singer. She's doing R&B, but her pocket is blues. So I said I need to include Leela, and we had Mesa. And so people don't understand, like, they hear Mesa as this smooth jazz and incognito sound and British soul. She absolutely turned out respect. She absolutely, you hear this power in her voice. And we joked about it. I called her and I don't know Aretha. And then she said, I'll be there. And that's why I knew, okay, she's a little bit of competitive edge or something there. And she said, it's Aretha Franklin. That's it. That's all you have to say to singers. And we had Mr. P, Phil Perry, who wrote 3 songs for Aretha. Yeah. Wow. He wrote 3 songs from a 1981 record. Okay. And then, wow, I mean, just so many. Richard Smallwood, her close friend, Richard Smallwood. I just thought about that. I don't know how he's probably seen Amazing Grace about 70 times.
Wow.
And he recorded with Aretha and wrote songs with Aretha and for her. Yeah. And so, you know, like I said, he's the maestro, but he's the dean of praise and worship music. Yeah, that's absolutely. It comes from Richard.
His catalog and that's
comes from Richard Smallwood. Yeah. So he graced us. And, you know, to have something that rare, Richard doesn't, to come to a jazz festival on an R&B and jazz stage, but you cannot do Aretha without doing her gospel side.
And that's the thing. It's like when I know we got to wrap it up, but when you think about that intersection, Aretha was very successful, even though it was a struggle to bring that pop and that gospel intersection together, and gave pop music so much soul and gospel that you just.
She's one of the original soul singers. When you think of soul singers, when you think of the word soul, it was developed and crafted out of Ray Charles and Aretha Franklin. That's where they got that whole thing.
Her father was a man of soul, and he encouraged her to move forward and to dive off into that, because she loved that different genres of music, and he encouraged her to try them all. Try what you love. And he was not about letting the people hold her back and being caught in people bondage, because he believed in the soul music, and he was a great singer himself.
Yes he was.
Her original record, her first record, is a jazz record. The Columbia, they didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Will Downing, ladies and gentlemen, but Will Downing.
I cleaned the carpet when I turned 70.
Ladies and gentlemen, Will Downing.
Well, Well, first of all, I'm happy that all of you guys are here at Capitol Jazz. Let's be very clear about that. I do want to know, and we want to know, what are you doing and what's next?
I'm working on my 22nd album.
Shut up.
Yeah,
Nah,
I
Will,
got
I don't
21
believe
of them joints.
that. No.
Don't nobody own none of them, but I got 21. I'm working on 22. I've been a success or being a failure my whole life.
Wow.
I'm working on an album that's a dedication to baritone vocalists, which you don't hear anymore. So I'm doing some Billy Eckstine, I'm doing some Johnny Hartman, I'm doing some little bit of everything. Isaac Hayes, I'm doing some Barry White.
I'm so here for
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I'm doing some highbrow, top shelf music. So
Yes.
yeah, that's what I'm
Down
doing.
in the beast.
Yes. Shanice, what about yourself?
I have a new single out right now. It's called He Won't, and you can download it on all digital platforms.
Yes.
And yes, so don't stream it, download it.
Download
Because
it.
when
Yes.
you stream it,
Yeah, you get the
money
pennies.
will
Right.
download.
0.000000.
Right. And then I have a new, I'm wearing it actually, but I have a new lipstick line. It's called Smile by Shanice. And I'm excited about it because it's non-toxic, it's vegan, and it lasts. So,
Shanice, you know I'm
and it's
a.
called Smile by
You
Shanice.
know I'm about to hunt you down for this. I'm about to
The
hunt you
website is
down.
beautyofperfection.com.
Beautyofperfection.com.
Yeah.
I'm
So
there.
Beautyofperfection.com.
I'm excited about my new music and my new lipstick line.
Right, great.
Franklin's carpet when I turned 70.
And
I have a new single with Sounds of Blackness featured with Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis. They're doing volume 1 of many artists that they've produced. And of course, you know, they signed Sounds of Blackness first when they had their first label,
Right.
and they released us as one of the first artists. So in that, they decided to release Sounds of Blackness first with a song called Till I Found You. Heaven Must Be Like This. And so it's kind of a reunion with Sounds of Blackness. As I stepped away to do my solo career, I'm still a part of Sounds of Blackness. Because as Gary Hines would always say, once a sounds, always a sounds.
Always.
And also, I'm doing actually my 8th solo project. It's one that my brother, Big Jim Wright, we lost him. Well, he died in September. He had finished 10 songs, and he was working. He was one of the producers with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis throughout the years. We wrote together with them, and he decided he wanted to do a project that was very reminiscent of my first solo project. He said, but I want to produce it all this time. He finished the 10 songs, and when he was a week away coming to record all my vocals, he passed. So I'm finishing that project, and we did a Kickstarter. So we're doing that on Kickstarter. We're doing that
Is it
project
active right now?
It's
It's
yes, it
active right
is.
now. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And as Shanice said, download this stuff.
Download the music.
Support us
Download the
because we're still out here, and we can't do anything without y'all.
Still making
We
great
need
music.
you.
Still
We
making
need
great
you. We got to keep the music great, and we got to appreciate these beautiful artists, these great artists that have studied the pioneers, and we want to give you the artistry that God has given us to share. Give us a place to share our gift. If you don't support us, then we're nothing. We need you.
That was so silly. That was so silly. I cannot with you. I can't with Will Downing today. Wayne, spur of the moment.
If I can.
Oh man.
So spur of the moment, we completed a project last year, and it's still out. And we have a single with Maimuna Youssef, with Maimuna Mumu Fresh.
Yes.
You can see her on tour with Common, but we have a single with her. I started my very first solo project this year.
What? Did you get a call? Will, did you get a call?
I'm not.
Will, did you get a call?
I'm not leaving the group. I started the group, so I can't leave the group. But I'm going to play some things that some different type of music that we play with Spur of the Moment, and I'm gonna call, all my friends. So pick up your phones, folks. But hopefully I'll be doing some dates with Will if he ever hired me again. He fired me a few years ago. I'm not forgotten it. No, I'm just kidding. And we're gearing up. I have so. He kept firing me and hiring me for $1 less each time. I don't know what it was, but I'm down $100 there.
All right.
So I have a Christmas project called Soul of the Holidays.
Okay.
And that originally had Angie Stone, Joe, Mike Phillips, and but we're doing a volume 2 of that. So I will be calling these folks to my right.
Okay.
And we'll be putting that show up during Christmas time also.
We like Christmas.
Yeah.
We like Christmas. we gonna put that show up. Yeah, nah. We gonna do it.
Yeah.
Let's do a show. But once again, I mean, we want to thank Capital Jazz for this opportunity to do this for the Queen,
Yes.
Aretha Franklin.
Absolutely.
So we want to thank you and all the people at Capital Jazz, the big guy that we never see behind the desk.
The ghost.
We don't even
ghost
talk
of
about
Capital
Kaiser Sosa. Right. We don't even talk about. We want to thank him and for every opportunity that you guys keep bringing and allowing us to show the world that live music still matters. And these artists are incredible artists that I have followed, and to live out my dream to play with these artists.
Yes.
It's a dream for me.
It's a dream, and it's a dream that you guys are here and that you've just embodied Aretha Franklin today. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. This is Jodine. I'm sitting here with Will Downing, Shanice, and Nesby, Wayne Bruce, tribute to Aretha Franklin at the 27th Annual Capital Jazz Fest. This is Jodine signing off on Capital Jazz TV.